Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Yontz. This is part 10. What are you listening to right now?
Um, uh, all the music that I love. Kate Bush, one of my favorite musicians of all
Okay.
time. Kate Bush, I love her. Um, I love I love classical music still. Wagner's Tristan and Isolde is probably my favorite piece of music ever composed. It's a beautiful, slow, fluid, gorgeous opera. It's not like
Yeah.
the hard driving Wagner like some of the other ones. It's very
Yeah.
different, and you may know it, but everyone kind of recognizes some of it when they hear it. But that is life changing. So I have to be prepared to cry if I'm going to listen to it. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, I just love I love the Beatles. I love Ween. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, classical. I have other composers that I love, of course, obviously, but
Do you like to listen to film scores?
yeah, I used to when I was young. I John Williams.
Mm.
That's all I listened to.
Yeah.
John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith, and I had all the records, of course, put them on tape.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't done that lately, unless I'm revisiting something old that I loved when I was
Mm.
younger, like a kid. Uh,
Cool.
but there's some good film scores now and again.
Yeah.
Not often. There are also a
Yeah.
lot of bad ones, but
Yeah.
music
I
is
could
it
mention
doesn't.
some.
Yeah, where I'm like, yeah, that's usually one of my main complaints with a lot of movies. I'm like, yeah, the music wasn't quite right, you know. Even if it's well
Yeah.
composed and well executed, it may not be the
Yeah.
appropriate, in my opinion.
Yeah. 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 What are you watching right now?
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. What am I watching? Well, I did just revisit Robert Altman's Three Women, which is why it was in my head. And it just every time I watch that movie, blew my mind, just completely just tonally that's the space that I like to be in when I watch a movie. It's just so honest. um I don't know, I mean, I've seen all the great art films multiple times, like every single Ingmar Bergman film, every single Ozu film, every single Kurosawa, every Antonioni, Fellini, like everyone, like even their obscure weird shorts that no one knows about. I've done that, and I've done them multiple times, and I know my favorites, and I'll go watch my favorites 10, 20, 30 times. And so I don't wash myself in that as much, because sometimes I like to see something new. But when I want to see something I haven't seen, I'll just for the fun, I'll go to like 70s grindhouse drive-in movies,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
trash. But I don't like late 80s trash. I don't like 90s trash. I don't like that. I like the 70s because it's like
Yeah.
raw, and it's like, even though everyone's amateurish and bad acting, it's real
Are you
locations.
are you
And
familiar with William Griffey?
I
Do,
don't
do you
think
know that
so.
he did uh, he did all these films like in the 60s. I interviewed him. He's
What?
really interesting guy, really old now, but
Uh,
he has some really I mean, he didn't have like any budget, and the fact he was able to make anything work. He did the film with William Shatner. Yeah, he did Sting of Death, Impulse with William Shatner. Uh,
gotcha.
Death Curse of Tartu, The Naked Zoo, Mako, The Jaws of Death, Stanley with the snakes, Whiskey Mountain. If you would see somebody
I
like
don't
who's
know
kind
any
of
of these,
in
and
this
I should.
grindhouse world, he is an interesting guy because like he, you know, came to Hollywood pretty much was going to get raked over the coals because they were just going to give him like the worst deal ever. And he apparently made friends with the lawyer who had just left there, and he knew all the stuff. And I did a really interesting interview, like a real 5 part interview,
Ooh,
so you can listen to it.
I'm going to.
It's on my thing. Yeah. He was
That's right
really
up
cool
my
guy.
alley. I'm going to check out his movies, 60s, and that is
Yeah,
perfect.
60s,
That's my
70s. Yeah,
wheelhouse.
yeah, you got to look at some of this, but yeah, some of it's like, you're like, oh God, that looks like
Yeah, it's fun. There's something I like about that. I love regional, obscure, low budget movies where some
yeah.
people that maybe didn't even know how to make movies, but they had a camera. But of that era, though, I'm not the newer one,
Yeah.
but like of the 70s where they had a camera and it was film, maybe it was 16, maybe it was 35. And they're just, they're usually like some of them are like just fueled by like excitement and passion.
Yeah.
And then some are just fueled by like the silliest, dumbest thing, like, oh, we got to sell this to the drive through and throw all this like shock value in it. And either
Yeah.
way, it's amusing to me. It's amusing to see like what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But there,
Well,
I like,
he
yeah, there's a unique
he
tone to them all. Like there's nothing like you ever would see today, nothing at all. And I think that's the
nah.
part that appeals to me the most. I'm so sick of the same old. I just want something
Yeah.
completely different.
Well, it's I mean, it's kind of why I like Nicholas Winding Refn stuff, because he does,
Yeah,
he spends time with space, only God forgives. Like, that's not going to appeal to most people.
right, right. Yeah, there's some people still like Bella Tarr has done some
Mm,
interesting, wonderful things, and there are filmmakers out there that are,
yeah.
they're trying.
Gotta experiment. Yeah, you gotta push through. One of my first acting coaches said, it's your job to not let them take the art out of you as the artist. I never forgot
Yeah,
that.
it's a fight, isn't it? That
Yeah.
that reminds me of this great story by Roald Dahl
Oh yeah,
called the great it's
Charlie.
called the Great American Grammatophon, or something, like it's like a computer
Yeah,
that knows grammar. Um, and that it expresses exactly what you just said, but in the most terrifying way, like the
yeah,
struggle to hold on to at least one little drop of something artistic and honest and real in a
yeah.
time where it's all commercialism, and how impossible that is for an artist. And the ending is just like boom, like, oh, like
Roll
devastating.
doll. All right,
Roald Dahl, yeah, yeah.
wow. All right, I'm gonna check that out. That's great. Um, anything else you're watching? Any?
Yeah, so I guess, let's see. So I saw Three Women and the occasional thing. Yeah, I
Did you see Poor Things?
no, I'm going to. That is on my
You should
list.
watch
Got to
that.
check that out. Um,
The
yeah,
Zone of Elements, I think it is. That's the Jonathan Glazer film. That looks interesting. It's a German film.
hmm,
That looks like that would be pretty good.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I have my eye on a few things. There was, let's see, some movie from a Danish um film from, it was Icelandic and Danish.
Yeah,
And
I think I
let's
saw. Yeah,
see.
that came out this last week. I think it was that film. I think you're talking
Oh
about.
no, Godland from 2022. That was
Ah,
recommended to me, so I'm going to check that out soon.
interesting.
So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I see it right here.
And then I just revisit, and I do revisit the movies I love, still.
Yeah,
If you let like 20 plus years go by, sometimes you're like, okay, it's time. Even though I've seen it 6 times, but it's time. So I
yeah.
just revisited Ingmar Bergman's Shame, one of my
Oh really?
very favorite films of all time. An underknown Bergman movie, which is shocking because it's one of his
Yeah,
best. And
yeah,
it's like a war-torn, weird world that it takes place in. It's black and white, but it was 1968. Um,
yeah,
Amazing. Just amazing.
yeah. No, Bergman's great.
Yeah,
Such. Yeah, no, you were talking about master. Right
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. Scenes from a Marriage is probably in my top,
Yeah.
15 favorite things of all time.
Seventh Seal for me.
Oh,
I remember
yeah,
watching that, and I was just like, wow, there's something so simplistic about this. It's so great.
yeah,
They're just playing chess.
yeah, yeah. But it
It
feels rich. It's just,
just
yeah,
does.
it just, Persona. I love Passion of Anna. Fanny and
Cries and
Alexander is
Whispers.
great. Yeah, yeah. He
Such good stuff.
For making that many movies, the amount of them that were actually good, is the percentage is a shocking. He has a shocking track record. Hey, thank you
Yeah.
guys. Um, so yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Well, that's great. Look, this has been great. It's getting to
Yeah, it's
talk to you
fun.
and ask you all these questions. Was I love your films. I love those
Oh,
two
thank
films.
you.
They just
Oh, I'm
are,
so glad.
I'm like, I'm so glad you gave me Freak Talks About Sex, because I'm like, can I see this anywhere? I'm like, the only place I could see it was like, I think Plex had, I think it, and I don't even know if they actually have it. So it's
Right.
like,
Well, the problem is I have to update it to the digital specs of today. And that's
yeah,
expensive because it's a print. It's a
yeah,
35 millimeter movie, which means you have to go to a lab and spend
yeah,
whatever, 5,000 or 3,000.
yeah.
It's not just something you can just do easily. So,
That's why I was saying, like, maybe going through, like, maybe, Arrow or one of those companies that like to do small films and bring them back and put them on, Blu-ray.
right. Yes. Yeah. Even if it's not the best, or if they pay
Yeah,
for it, but if not, then sometimes you see on Amazon
yeah,
Prime, they don't have the best transfer, but at least you get to see the movie.
yeah. So
Um,
something like that.
you know.
Because I don't, I think it still applies today. You know, Freak talks about sex.
Hmm.
I think there's something about it that still resonates today.
Being sort of stuck in your
Just
old,
being stuck. Yeah,
just being stuck
I loved it.
emotionally and physically in space.
Yeah, I mean that was that's why I mentioned kicking and screaming. I remember when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, this is how I feel right now.
Hmm. I can relate too. That's why I made the movie. I mean, I got out,
Yeah,
before, but even just being in high school, I felt like Keenan. I felt like the stagnation of staying
yeah,
in that there and being stuck and
yeah,
you know, yeah.
yeah. And then one day like rain, so good,
Yeah,
so
that one I
good.
really poured a lot of myself into that, more so than
Yeah,
Freak, that. And
yeah.
the next one even more. The next one that's coming.
I can't wait. How can people reach you if you want them to reach you?
Oh wow. Interesting. I suppose Facebook, they could request
Okay.
a friend request on Facebook. Uh, it's under
If I put in
mine.
Paul Todisco director, will that come up?
Okay, now
Because that is not yeah.
facebook.com. My name is spelled in a way that a lot of people don't spell it, so be pretty easy to find me.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you, sir.
All right. Thank
This has been
you,
great.
Justin.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.